The SCP Foundation has contained things that eat dimensions, things that unmake language just by existing, and things that have literally killed the concept of death before. They are the undisputed granddaddy of cosmic Pokemon collecting, and they have never had to deal with Lobotomy Corporation's abnormalities. That changes today. For anyone who hasn't spent the last how many ever hours micromanaging eldritch entities on a work schedule, Project Moon built a facility where the entire business model is managing things that should not exist. Their classification systems run from ZAYIN, which is basically harmless, up through TETH, HE, WA, and finally, Aleph, which is the game's polite way of saying your facility is now a smoking hole in the ground and that's your fault. The Foundation has their own language for this: Safe, Euclid, Keter, and we are using the original three, not Apollyon, not Ticonderoga, not whatever the wiki added last Tuesday, the classic system, the one that existed before the Foundation decided three options wasn't complicated enough, because frankly, the original three tell us everything we need to know, and adding more categories would let me off the hook too easily. The question is whether these two systems would ever agree on the same entity. They would not, and the gap between them is actually quite wild. We are going through the full abnormality roster and sorting them the way the Foundation would, not the way Lobotomy Corp did. And before any of you start drafting complaints in the comments, yes, I am putting things on the safe list that are going to make you question my sanity and wish I would just shut the fuck up and distort already. WA tier entries, plural, on the safe list. I stand by everything on this list completely. If you don't like it, go yell at my researcher. He'll be in the comments and he knows who he is. So just sit there and let me explain what I'm going to talk about. Before we touch on a single entity, the definition matters. Safe does not mean harmless. It does not mean friendly. There is no inviting it to your birthday party and expecting everyone to go home with their faces still attached. Safe means the containment procedures are reliable. The entity does not actively hunt for a way out. The danger is something that if you follow the rules, you can handle. The Foundation knows exactly what it does, exactly when it does it, and exactly how to make it stop. And that's it. That's the whole classification in a nutshell, and that distinction is about to do an enormous amount of work in this video. Let's start with the ones nobody is arguing with me about. ZAYIN is LobCorp's designation for things that are essentially harmless or actively useful. We've got Jesus Christ Superstar, which, to be clear, is the actual name of an abnormality. No, seriously, I didn't add anything to it. It's its name, trust me. And the Foundation would file it under theologically confusing and logistically fine. Well, cheers, mirror of adjustment, we can change anything, you must be happy, old faith and promise, you're bald, don't touch me. The Foundation reads these files and the most dramatic reaction they have is mild curiosity. Junior researcher, standard cell, done. Half of these they'd probably put in a break room just to see what happens. TETH is where Lobotomy Corporation starts treating things like an actual job. Standard training dummy, which the Foundation would be mildly offended that the Lobotomy Corp even decided to classify. Old lady, 1.76 megahertz, Theresia, the Heart of Aspiration, Skin Prophecy, Luminescent Bracelet, Behavior Adjustment Bloodbath, Today's Shy Look, Grave of Cherry Blossom, Spider Bud, Crumbling Armor. They're all low threats with very easy to determine behaviors. The Foundation has contained entities that eat concepts. TETH is a typical Tuesday to these people. Every single one of these is safe with zero debate. We're moving on and I don't want to hear anything about it. However, this is where the conversation actually starts. He in LobCorp means moderate threat. These are entities that will absolutely ruin your employee's day if you give them the chance. And yet, here we are, putting 7 of them in the safe column. The argument is the same for all of them. The rules are consistent, and consistency is the Foundation's entire way to evaluate these guys. Happy teddy bear, the containment rule is one sentence. Do not send the same employee into the room twice in a row. Rotate your staff. That's the only thing you need to do to be safe. The bear will hug an employee to death if they come back before someone else has gone in. Which is a horrifying sentence that becomes very boring the second you write it into a rotation schedule. The Foundation has containment protocols that require employees to maintain specific emotional states under active psychological assault for a 12-hour shift. A mandatory staff rotation is something they would put on the onboarding document and never think about again. This one's safe. Giant tree sap can't escape. It can't breach. It's physically incapable of leaving its cell under any circumstance. What it can do is cause the employee to detonate shortly after ingesting its sap, which, yes, is something I just said. And the sap also provides genuine benefits, which means the Foundation's evaluation of giant tree sap is useful resource with a known and avoidable detonation risk. Don't let your employees drink the Eldritch Tree juice and you have no problem. The Foundation loves anomalies that essentially pay for their own containment and punish you for being stupid, so safe. Shelter from the 27th of March, the name had me for a second too, but this is not a calendar entity, it's a safe zone. It cannot escape, it cannot breach. It poses zero direct threat to anyone. The catch is that if an employee spends more than 30 seconds inside the room, other abnormalities can't escape, and that's the whole thing. The entity itself is completely contained. What it does is create a 30 seconds invulnerability window for you or whoever's in there, and as long as they don't linger in there too long, they're fine. The Foundation's response to this would be put on a sign on the door that says, don't loiter. The shelter isn't the threat. The shelter is just an inconvenient room that you have to avoid to stay safe. Then we have our notes from the crazed researcher. 3 rules written down, and that's the whole argument we have here. Don't return the notebook to containment within 30 seconds of picking it up. Don't put it back without doing some work first. And don't let the employee holding it panic. Break any of those 3 rules and your employee explodes and takes the whole room with them, which is a real problem. But if you follow all 3, you get a massive temperance boost and you walk out fine. The Foundation processes entities like this before launch. The rules exist. The rules are very specific and the rules don't change. And the employee is the only variable. It's not the entity, so we're going to go with safe on this one also. Then we have the Child of the Galaxy. Hands one employee a token of friendship. If that token holder works on another abnormality or dies while holding it, he triggers a wide branching attack that kills every other token holder within range. So you pick one designated handler, you keep that handler in his room and you don't let them wander off. The Foundation would assign a specific employee to the role and mark them in the system as the Galaxy assigned, and route every other work order around them. Funny thing is though, is that as long as it's a different day, even if he has the token, it doesn't affect the next guy, so another dude can work on him the next day. And they just get this awesome necklace that boosts skills that they can use, which is a way to farm. Speaking of farming, he has an equal success rate across all training stats, which means the Foundation is accidentally running the best employee development program in their history. The Woodsman, though, this is the trickiest call in the heat here, and I'm making it anyway. His counter drops on a bad work result, and whenever a high temperance employee finishes working with him, when the counter hits 0 and someone walks in, that employee dies instantly. He then shoves their body into his chest to build a heart and escapes. Once he's out, he is a full He-class suppression target. But here's why he's still safe. The rules are all on your side before the breach. Don't send in a high temperance employee. The Foundation would have a dedicated observer running a tally on the counter at all times, the same way they'd clock any entity with a breach threshold. Every single failure condition in his entire containment profile is the direct result of ignoring the 2 instructions. The SCP Foundation's whole thing is secure, contain, protect. And as long as you can secure and contain the entity by following the protocols, it's going to fall into the safe category. We then have the Snow Queen. After a work session, she might place an ice shard over an employee's heart, and if you send the same employee back in, they get frozen. Again, all of these are set on a daily timer, so after a day, they would be fine. But if you send them back in, now you have a problem. To get them out, you send in a high fortitude employee in to duel her. Win the duel, and everyone walks free. Lose, and both employees die. There is also exactly 1 piece of gear you're never allowed to bring in that room. Firebird Ego, and if you do, that employee immediately dies on contact, and that's it. That's the full rule set. Don't send the same employee twice, have a high fortitude duelist on standby, and leave the Firebird gear at home. The Foundation has contained entities that require the complete elimination of human error across an entire site indefinitely, and the Snow Queen requires you to maintain a short list of personal rules and keep 1 strong employee available. And that's a normal day of operations for them.
4.
What tier abnormalities are on this safe list? I know what I did. Take a breath. I'm going to walk you through every single one of them, and by the end of this section, you're either going to agree with me or you're going to leave a comment that I will read out loud with a neutral expression on my face, I can imagine. Why is dangerous? Why is the tier where Lobotomy Corporation starts putting their best employees off of other assignments to take care of these contingency plans? These things can and will cause serious facility level incidents when mishandled, and I still put 4 of them in safe, and here's why. Starting off, we have the flesh idol. This one isn't even a traditional containment entity, it's a tool. Your employees pray to it, and the entire containment challenge is a timer. Between 21 and 90 seconds of prayer, your whole facility heals, their sanity goes up, everyone recovers. It's functionally a buff station. The catch is that if the prayer crosses that 90 seconds line, the praying employee dies, and every containment counter in the facility drops to 0. Every abnormality you have escapes simultaneously. That is a catastrophic failure state, and it is caused entirely by not watching the damn clock. The Foundation would have a dedicated stopwatch running the second any employee entered that room. They would pull them out before 90 seconds the same way you'd pull someone out of a decompression chamber. The entity is not the variable, the clock is the variable, and the Foundation is very good at clocks. Pianto della Luna. She can escape. I want to be upfront with that because the breach conditions are worth understanding. If you order an employee to play the piano a 3rd time, her counter immediately hits 0, the piano player transforms and she breaches. And that sounds like a problem, and it normally would be, except for one thing. She goes back on her own. She is playing out a sonata, and when the 3rd movement finishes, she returns to containment without having anyone do anything about it. The Foundation's entire strategy for Della Luna is to not send anyone to the piano a 3rd time, and if someone does, clear the room, wait for the music to stop, and go back to work. She self-resolves, and the Foundation would classify a self-resolving breach as an inconvenience, not a crisis. I'm not gonna lie, the next one's also a tool, and the backwards clock, and this one is really interesting, and I want to give it the time it deserves. The clock has to be activated 5 times to trigger its effect. The 5th activation, the one that actually does something, requires a level 5 employee to be the one who triggers it. And what happens when they do this is time reverses. Your entire day kind of resets, any of your mistakes are fixed. I know it's not quite that simple, but every mistake or casualty can be reset with this. Every catastrophic breach you've lived through is just gone. The cost is the level 5 employee who activated it, because they're gone permanently. The Foundation's evaluation of the backwards clock is that this is a temporal anomaly with a specific, repeatable activation sequence, a hard personnel requirement, and a defined cost. The mechanism is completely understood. The trigger is deliberate, and you cannot accidentally activate the backwards clock. You have to specifically put a high-level employee in that room 4 times and then do it again. So it's fine. Alright guys, here's the most controversial one. Yin and Yang, separated mind you. Yang is equipment. An employee carries it. While it's not being used, Yin stays in the containment with no issues. The timer starts the second Yang is equipped on someone and stays running. Leave it equipped too long and Yin's counter reaches 0 and she escapes. Yang transforms and escapes alongside her, leaving your employee behind in the chaos. Once they're both loose, they move towards each other to fuse into a dragon that inverts your facility's rules. Good situations become bad, bad situations become good, and your entire operational logic starts running backwards. To stop them, you have to suppress both halves simultaneously, because killing only one just delays the problem. However, here's why it's still safe in the separated state. The entire fusion scenario is gated behind one rule. You don't leave Yang equipped too long. The Foundation would have a clock on the Yang, the same way they'd have a clock on Flesh Idol. A hard rotation limit, a designated handler swap schedule, and a standing order to unequip before the window closes. The dragon only exists if someone ignores the countdown. They could have been tracking and separated. With that protocol in place, the rules still hold and the product is still safe. And here's what this entire list actually tells you. LabCorp classified by threat level, the Foundation classifies by containment relatability. Those are not the same question. When you swap the lens, the entire roster reorganizes itself. Things that terrified your employees, things that ate through your staff on a bad day, things that LabCorp treated as genuine operational crises. The Foundation looks at all of that and asks one question. Do our rules hold? Can it be contained? For everything on this list, I would say that the answer is yes. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe and hit the noti bell if you guys enjoy this content. And like always, be good to each other. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.